have here? Where was I? Corrected. Corrected. When you say corrected, you are taking valve train into effect, okay? And that is not taking into consideration everything. You can't call it dynamic because it takes into no consideration for overlap, timing events, intake centerline. All that is with dynamic. Corrected is with the valves closed, and finally you're starting to build cylinder pressure, okay? Corrected is going to be lower because that piston is further up in the bore. So when you say a corrected 10.5 to 1, okay, to me that's saying, okay, that's taking into consideration timing events, okay? So camshafts, when you get a camshaft, the most important event on that camshaft, okay, to determine how your engine is going to build pressure, okay, and that's not, we're talking about camshaft here, okay? We're not talking about angles on the valve seat. We're not talking about LSA. We're not talking about intake centerline and exhaust centerline, which plays a role in dynamic, and we'll probably get to that in another video. But corrected, okay, corrected. The most important thing on that cam card to you as a purchaser, next to lobe separation angle, and we'll get further into that too, because a lot of people think, well, the lower the lobe centerline or lobe separation angle, the better it's going to run, and that is correct, but at a limited sense, because that is old school, okay? And lobe separation, old school, if you use those old school methods on new school engineering, it does not work, okay? You can make more horsepower and torque on a wider lobe separation with more efficient heads. We're getting off subject. All right, so corrected. So we went from 12.5 to 10.5 to 1, all right? Because it is it's a corrected sense, okay? Now, corrected is almost as important as CCP. What is CCP? CCP is cold cranking compression. You also have warm cranking compression as well. That's for another video. So what is cold cranking compression, okay? Cold cranking compression is when the engine is at ambient temperature, the air around it, everything is settled to a temperature. It's not going to fluctuate. Parts of the engine isn't warm, parts of the engine isn't cold. It's all a uniform temperature. The cold cranking compression, I see this all the time. Guys have these ideas of, okay, I got this static and I got this dynamic compression, and I'm going to have a great running engine. And this is a 13 to 1 static engine, and it comes out to 11.5 to 1 dynamic. And when they get these engines running, it has poor throttle response. It has poor fuel economy. It doesn't run correctly. You can't fine tune it, okay? It is hard to run, and it is hard to tune, okay? That has a lot to do with your cold cranking compression. Cold cranking compression will tell you absolute how the engine will respond, how the engine will run, how the engine will take what you tune into it, okay? If you have, now let me write some numbers on here. Okay, here we go. When you deal with cranking compression, that is going to tell you how good, how snappy, how much activity is happening in that compression chamber, or that combustion chamber, okay? That's how much efficiency it's going to have. That is very, very important. It's very vital to know that information. Now, what is low, what is okay, what is optimal, and what is best, and why? Most importantly, why? Low compression, all right? Low compression is a lawnmower, okay? If you're not building over 100 psi, you have a lawnmower engine, okay? You can run that on 60 octane, you can, and that's another thing, octane, all you that think that octane is worse than what we had 40, 50 years ago, that's not correct, okay? Because they changed in how the octane ratings were found. Actually, we have more octane than what it's rated out at the pumps, and that's another. I'm getting cited off task. Mr. Cornelius, I miss him. He's a good teacher. He's a good physical science teacher. He used to always tell me, cited, Griffith, off task, 5 means you get 5 points off your grade. But anyways, all right, so what is low? Low is you don't build that engine, okay? Just don't.